Hello everybody, my name is Wilder, and I haven't made a video on Rune Factory 5 or streamed the game for a while. Now don't get me wrong, I had a ton of fun playing it when it released. I loved streaming it, and it was so much fun to experience it with all of you, and at the end of the day, I would love to still make a review on it and really go in depth into why it's a very fun and enjoyable game. With all that being said, however, I fell off of Rune Factory 5 really hard, and really fast too. And I wanted to ask, did you stop playing Rune Factory 5? And if you did, when did you stop playing? That's the important one. Because I just put it down one day and never picked it back up. I do know that I'll go back to it one day, and I know that I'll have a blast finishing the story and learning about everything else the game has to offer. But compared to Rune Factory 4 when I first got the game back on the 3DS, or you know what, even Rune Factory 4 Special, Rune Factory 5 just didn't suck me in and make me obsessed like 4 did, and that makes me pretty sad, honestly. I know I'm not alone on this as well. I do know that there are a ton of you who feel like me. You love Rune Factory 5 and think it's a lot of fun, but it just didn't have that same feeling. It didn't have that same draw, and I think a lot of that has to do with its world and its gameplay. I just want to say again, I do love Rune Factory 5, and when I do play it, I have a blast with it. But it's no secret that compared to the game that came before it, Rune Factory 5 is lacking in a lot of places that until now, the series just never really had a problem with. The character's dialogue was a big one for me. I remember playing Rune Factory 4 Special and being years into the game and just seeing a new line of dialogue because of the time of day or situation I talked to the character in, and I was just sitting there thinking about how much time the developers must have taken to make sure that these characters really do feel alive. When dialogue started repeating after a few days in Rune Factory 5, it was kind of a letdown, like a really big letdown, especially in a game and also a genre where you're going to be talking to everybody multiple times a day. On top of that too, I miss the big conversations that the guys and girls would have in 4 when they would get together at festivals and during lunchtime. Because although the mechanic of group conversations is in Rune Factory 5, it just doesn't feel as alive and feels like it was placed there because 4 had it, not because the characters have something to say or for you to learn about them. It just kind of feels like it's walking in Rune Factory 4's footsteps, rather than building off of what 4 had in the first place. I don't know, maybe I'm sounding a little bit crazy, but I mean, Rune Factory 5 is a good game at the end of the day. I'm just not getting the same feeling as I did with 4. The same energy and the feel I got from the characters in the game can also be applied to the world. Although I personally love the move to 3D for this game, and I always will, it's not a secret that it just wasn't done very well. From the textures to the performance, even someone who doesn't care about any of that would be able to pick up the game and wonder why it starts to slow down when they enter town or come back from their farm dragon. Even with just how a lot of the game looks, it feels like there's missing detail in every corner, from Rigbarth to the dungeons to the open world areas outside of town. There is a lot of life that's in this game, in certain areas, but there's also a lot of life that's just missing from it that it desperately needs. I mean, even looking at the recently announced Harvestella from Square Enix, which I made a video on, by the way. Go check that out if you're interested. I know it might not be a fair comparison overall, but look at the detail and just how beautiful every inch of the world we've been shown looks. That game is stunning, and I can't wait to see more of it over time. The same thing that drew me in about Rune Factory 5, exploring the world, the combat, the story, it's the same thing drawing me in with Harvestella, but even more so because it looks so beautiful visually. There are some areas in Rune Factory 5 that I think are really, really pretty and really cool. And there are some dungeons that I think look absolutely phenomenal, especially because of the jump to 3D. I just wish this feeling was consistent throughout the game. To me, it feels like everything was made good enough, and then they chose a handful of areas to go back to and refine afterwards. But then they just left the rest alone. Like they just forgot about the rest of the game. It makes me think that maybe more time in development would have been a good thing for Rune Factory 5, not only for the performance issues, but the visuals as well. But then I also remember that the game had already been out for about a year in Japan at the point that we got it here in North America. So other than little patches for Japan, it was already finished and not going to be touched much more, visually speaking. Just thinking back to the initial reaction from a lot of you when we first got to see the game and its world, I remember seeing a lot of people hoping that the game wasn't done yet and that we were seeing an early version and that it was going to be touched up a lot. But going back and watching the initial trailer, in reality that's not what happened. I really don't want anyone to think that I hate this game. I really, really don't. There's a ton I love about it, including the characters, their personalities, the familiar Rune Factory feel to a lot of the mechanics. And although I've heard a lot of opinions both for and against it, I do think the combat is fun and really easy to just pick up and enjoy for what it is. The jump from the overhead style to 3D, as far as the Rune Factory main series goes, I think it was translated really well. It feels like a Rune Factory mainline game. I am a fan of the jump to 3D, it just wasn't done well. But I do love Rune Factory 5. This also isn't supposed to be a video about how the game looks, so sorry for going off about that for a bit. I just needed to get some of these thoughts out about why I haven't been playing Rune Factory 5 despite genuinely loving it and having a lot of fun with it whenever I do play it. It just didn't hook me quite like 4 did, and it made me sit here and question why. Why am I not playing it? Why am I not streaming it? How come I didn't make a review on it? I would still love to make a bunch of content on it, but the big looming question was just that one, why? And after a lot of thinking, I knew it was because of the 2 big problems I mentioned, that I just couldn't get absolutely obsessed and sucked into it. The main reason I made this video though, like all of my videos, is because, of course, I wanted to know what you thought, both about what I said here today and about Rune Factory 5 in general. Like I asked earlier, when did you stop playing the game, if you have? Was it earlier than you expected? And did you have fun with it? Because I know that I did, and the hype was real when the game came out. It was a really fun event, both in my community and in general. And I also wanted to thank all of you for making the release of Rune Factory 5 so awesome. It was great getting to share the hype and excitement with all of you, and I genuinely can't wait to stream it again with you guys one day. Anyway, let me know what you think about everything I said here today in the comments down below, because that's going to be it from me today. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.